Welcome to Real Estate Success DFW, the podcast where top producing agents from Dallas-Fort Worth come together to share their stories and strategies behind their success. I'm Shaune Corbett, your host, and with over 300 million sold in the local real estate market and the honor of being best of breed multiple times, I know what it takes to make it in this market. Each episode, we're going to dive into the world of real estate, learning from the very best in the industry. If you're ready to level up your game, we're in the right place. Let's get started. Hey everyone, Shaune Corbett here, Real Estate Success DFW. I've got a special guest, Diamond D, Darien Hall. How are you, Darien?
I'm doing well, man. Happy to be here.
I love it. I've been trying to get you to connect with me for a while. You know, when you're selling all those houses, man, it's hard to get you to slow down and say, give me just 45 minutes so we can have a conversation and share your wisdom and your wealth and all the experience you've had. You know, so thank you for doing that.
No, I appreciate it, man. I'm happy to be here, man. And obviously, our history goes way back. So this is definitely a pleasure, man. I'm hoping to not only give some of my insight, but to also gain some from you as well, man.
It's funny, Darien and I actually don't live far from each other, probably not even 4 to 5 minutes. I did not know Darien. I knew Diamond D, and I knew him at a conference in Florida is where I met him, Shaune Corbett.
Yeah.
That's the first time, I don't know what it is. I just remember where I first meet people, and I remember meeting you. Shaune was so pumped up about you. He said, I gotta meet this guy. He's got all this energy, he's exciting, and he's selling a ton of houses. And I think your office was in Farmers Branch, Addison.
Yeah. Carrollton, Farmers Branch area.
I knew you had an office there. I think you were doing insurance and some other things. So I tell you, I remember things. And you were selling real estate. You're doing, you're killing it in that. So obviously my space is having you on to talk about selling real estate, connecting with your audience, and who you're really passionate about selling and what your kind of niche is usually a good place we can talk about. But before we do all that, I always start, why in the world are you selling real estate, right? How did you get into it?
It was something that I felt was almost a calling. My background was in retail sales with, I sold cellular phones with Sprint. And, I just built a passion for just really serving and helping people in that space. And, I remember a lady came into the store, I helped her, and whenever we finished her transaction, this is many years ago. I'm almost 20 years in real estate, so just keep that in mind as I tell the story. As we finished her transaction, her purse opened, and I'll tell you, I'd never seen so much money fall out of somebody's purse at that time. I said, wow, what do you do? And she said, well, I'm a real estate agent. I help people buy and sell houses, and evidently she had just cashed her check, man, and she had all this money. And man, after that, I went home, and I'll never forget. I said, well, yeah, the money was awesome, but I felt like that whole interaction had a purpose behind it. And I immediately started studying, and I knew that at that time I wanted to serve people at that level of buying and selling houses. That's what I wanted to do, and that's what I went after, man. Back in, like I said, I'm almost going on 20 years now, so it's been quite a journey for sure.
So you realize you could sell a house and make a little bit more than selling a cell phone. That's a good start.
Yeah, for sure.
That's funny. Was that like Nextel, Sprint? I'm trying to think. Yeah, this is way back.
Yeah. Nextel, Sprint. I was part of that whole merger acquisition, and I was like assistant manager of our retail store. And yeah, man, we put up great numbers, man, because I had a team full of rock stars. We all kind of fed off each other. It was that kind of that energy that we built up in there that we're gonna help serve, and we were gonna help sell. That was one of the things that we just drove home to all of the reps.
I mean, you go find those reps and bring them over to your real estate team.
I'm looking for them now, man. I'm telling you that. Absolutely. That's a conversation that we'll have with me, you, and Shaune, actually.
All right, well, let's do it. Yeah, and you know me, I'll help you any way I can as well. Obviously, Shaune Sturrock's a rock star and bringing people over and talking about, the experiences that we have, because you and I are not directly together, but we're on a kind of a,
Yeah.
deal. And I've done your open houses, and I've done things to kind of help you as well.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I just love being able to kind of serve and help other agents in this space. So it's always been good working with you. So let's talk about you've had some pretty painful, life experiences over the last, I think, probably 6, 7 years, maybe even less. It's probably actually only been about 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, man. I mean, from loss of stillborn and just then transitioning to, starting a new chapter untethered to, a previous relationship. And then also juggling, right? The responsibilities of being a father, being a businessman, being active in a community. It's been really challenging. However, with that came a better sense of joy and fulfillment that I felt like I was really missing up to that point, and like you mentioned, a lot of the shift for me started, back, I would say, in 2018, coming right off an icon. And for those, yeah, I'm just, for those who aren't, affiliated with our brokerage with EXP, the icon being, kind of, what most top producing agents go after, coming off of that and 2018 and just having to keep shifting between, one life event to the next. It was tough, man. It was.
Yeah, and icon in general, it's generally going to probably be like your top 1%. I mean,
Mhm.
you got to be at the top of the top to reach the icon status, and it's a special opportunity. It is the highest award that EXP gives out to agents. They don't do a lot of agent recognition specifically. They expect us to do that for our teams and our agents.
Yeah.
But as far as the company looking at a whole, they'll reward the absolute top of the top, and that's the Icon Award, where you get your cap back. You pay 16,000 cap, you get your cap
Yeah.
$16,000 back in stock. So
Yeah.
very cool opportunity. I mean that's one of the reasons why you're on the call, because I know you've reached that point, you've reached the top. So what does it mean that you go through, the pain of the experience and things you've gone through, and then now you have kind of this new Darien Hall. You've talked about some of the things that you've experienced and how you are able to use a lot of that pain and things like that to really identify what's most important, what brings you joy, what's really the experiences that make a difference for you, and maybe that difference affects your clients and things like that as well.
Whew, man, that's a great question, Sean. I'll tell you, you know, uh, it allowed me to really focus on what was most important, right? And what that looked like for me was, being more invested in my faith and obviously health and well-being very high. And so then I feel like what ended up happening going through that period is almost a kind of like rebirth, almost like a, just coming out of, gosh, what is it when they say you're coming out of like the fire or something? It was really one of those times that, I felt like I was pretty much stripped of just about everything. And I knew that I needed to practice more solitude and and then what ended up transitioning for me, and even for my business, I think, is I started giving myself grace and allowing myself to grow into what I was becoming. And like you said, like that new Darien Hall, and what did that look like? It didn't look like the previous one, that was, you know, hard, 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 hustle, 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 because uh, I noticed a lot of burnout happen during that period. And so, man, I really got a chance to just kind of slow down, man. And I think my business, my clients, they started they started really being attracted to that because they understood that my philosophy had changed. Everything was different. It wasn't about, okay, speed this, speed that, and oh, we got to hurry and do this. It really became, hey, I am going to make sure that I methodically serve you to the deepest and highest level. And when that happened, everything slowed down, and they understood that I was the best man for the job, whether that was buying or selling, because I took the time with them. It transitioned from, going for the high volume game to the high service game. And by doing that, the high volume comes.
It will. And I know it's done well for you because I know you've had a number of good solid listings coming up over the last
Mm,
couple months, because you'll
yeah.
post them either coming soon or things coming up and I'm watching them like, wow, those are really good listings. I think I tried to snag one of them from you on that Double Oak, no, Bartonville
Yeah.
property. Uh,
Uh-huh.
wasn't a good fit for my client, but man, it's just like, wow,
Yeah.
you're just like continually get good listings.
Well,
So
well,
things are
thank you.
working correctly. And so what
Yeah.
is I know they're coming and they're becoming a part of your, the fruit of your experience and labor and things you've
Mhm.
gone through. You're starting to see the fruit of it. Who do you consider to be like maybe an ideal client or maybe a niche that really just calls to you?
Oh, you know, so I had to be really careful. You know, marketing and, then having an ideal client, I was really struggling with, especially in the beginning, because I was like, okay, I'll be a first time home buyer specialist. I'll be a first time seller specialist. And I kind of was all over the place, man. And so then going through this whole new chapter, I said, well, maybe it might not really necessarily be the transaction type. Maybe it's the personality type, or maybe it's the client type. Maybe we share similarities. Maybe it could be hobbies or things of interest. So then I started saying, okay, well, what would that client look like? And sure enough, whether they were first time buyers or luxury buyers or, high net worth, it didn't matter. What really mattered was they had a sense of really wanting to be served, like to the highest. Like there was no cutting corners for speed, and the clients I represent now, they know from my actions and really how I articulate and navigate them through the process that this is the highest level that they could possibly get to in this space. And so that client, that ideal client, is the one that says, you know what, man, I want someone who has my back. I can call him when we need to. He's going to be thorough. That he's gonna make sure that he upholds our best interest at all times. And so yeah, I think that client is looking for someone who has that capacity to do that for them, and that's just who I want to work with. I don't work, if I've been doing this long enough to know that, if I'm having a conversation with a prospective client and man, we start talking about, oh, can you rebate this and can you rebate that? I'll answer those questions, but I also know that sometimes, we may not be in alignment anyway, and so that may not even be worth the energy for me. And, that relationship may not even come to fruition if we can really, if we don't have the same philosophy of things. Most of my clients know that I earn the commission. I don't just make it. I earn it, and I only earn it based on the level of service I provide to them.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So let's talk about energy. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Energy is something you and I have talked about, and that's an important element to you. What is it about that in your performance, or
Mm.
what do you do about either gaining or building or utilizing energy, in the space that we operate in? Do you do it in your
Yeah.
personal life, or is it something that you draw out of and apply it in your spiritual, in your
Yeah.
business life? I mean, what do you think? How does it apply to you?
Well, so when again, we're comparing the new Darien, and so the old Darien took energy and just exhausted it, right? It was like everything just to the max. And dude, I went through again several seasons of just burnout, dude. I just could not keep up with that pace. And so then I started figuring out, man, like energy is everything, it is everything. Absolutely. And so once I really understood that, now I'm able to channel it. I'm able to manage it better. I know that, it starts with, for me, faith. It starts with personal. It starts with active. I'm sure there are probably some people here remember. I used to always wake up every morning and post, let's move, like at 5:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, let's move. And that was an awesome time. And I still practice the let's move. I just channel it differently, and so, when I wake up now, it's my energy is more so internally first, right? And so that looks like devotional, stretching, meditation, and getting that calm sense, and then taking it out there. Whereas initially it was the other way around. I was trying to force it, and again it worked for a while until I got to burnout. But now I am practicing it differently, and so I know that even in real estate, okay, there are certain times of the day that I can only prospect. I can only reach out to people, and then certain times of the day I can only follow up with people because I understand I have my capacity of energy and when to exert it. And typically, afternoon this is a great time for me because I've already pretty much done a lot of what I needed to do in the morning to get that momentum, and then I run with it, man, until the evening. But I've just figured out for me what worked and what that pace and what that cadence looked like.
Where did you come up with this? So you've made a change, you made a transformation, you've recognized energy's part of it, how you approach your business is part of it. Did you read a book or
Yeah.
where did you draw inspiration from?
So that inspiration and great question, man. So I'm really big into personal growth and development, and I started just taking ideas from so many different books, from so many different podcasts, and then I just kind of made it my own. I said, well, okay, well, Dan Sullivan says do things like this, and in this book it said, and then I kind of made it my own, and again, what I figured out, even when I stripped all that away, it still kind of came back to like having the inner energy, building that up. And so then I started focusing on that. I started focusing on, okay, more meditation. And I was already in solitude, right? Because I transitioned, and started all the way over. So I was already in solitude. So I felt like I was just recharging at that time. And then I just incorporated the meditation and then the physical activity, which is I love to work out, and I love to work out mostly for mental energy, right? And that is a space for me, again, to be able to outwardly expend with my clients and with my community. So yeah, man, it was just a combination of books and podcasts and journaling, and once I figured it out, I just kind of made it my own, and I feel like it's been working for me.
I love it. We've talked about passion. Is there any other elements to passion, what you're excited about or promoting that is especially something we haven't talked about or covered?
Ooh, man, for me right now, and I know you mentioned this, is now sharing that on a larger scale with those who are interested, right? With those who have a passion for it, and me sharing my experiences and what I have learned and being able to give that to whomever that may be going through similar circumstances, or someone that's just inspired by just that piece of it, and then applying that to obviously we're real estate agents, man. We love what we do. We interact with a lot of different people. I think that when we focus on that, which what we're passionate about, which is helping others, then we ultimately have to focus on ourselves to be able to help them at that highest level anyway. So I'm passionate about that. That's the reason I'm so passionate about the energy and the mindset and all that, because I know that in order to really help someone, we have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. And yeah, that's what I'm passionate about. Now I'm just even more passionate to share it with others and to help build up whatever network that looks like.
I love it. So you did mention earlier having things in common with other people as be a target audience or people that you would connect with. And you mentioned hobbies. Okay. That's something that a lot of us have lost the art of hobbies, right? We just
Mhm.
work and we might go to
Mhm.
church, we might do clubs, or we might go to some different events and stuff, but there's nothing particular that we
Yeah.
do for ourselves. And my wife's taught me a lot about hobbies, right? Because she does all kinds of sewing and needle stitch and diamond art is probably the big thing she's doing right now. You do
Hmm.
those little diamonds and you poke them on there. It's just kind of this therapeutic thing, and you make,
Yeah.
pretty large things you can put on the wall. And she's got kids doing it. She has even my 4-year-old was doing diamond art with her.
I
So
love it.
yeah.
I love it. Hey, let me
Um,
tell you why I love that. My girlfriend now, I never knew what diamond art
yeah.
was, man. I remember I remember walking into the bedroom and she had this oh man, she's gonna kill me if she hears this story. She had this little lamp on with the
Yeah.
little light, and she was in there with this little pen and she was doing this. I was like, what's going on in here?
It's
And
therapy.
I was like, man, and then I started noticing the other. like renderings that she had already done.
Yeah.
Blew my mind. I was like, dude, this is awesome. And
Well, it
I
takes
didn't
hours, yeah, to poke them all in
hours.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's therapy.
Yeah.
My wife, she'll throw, a crime show on or something and just
Uh-huh.
sit there and poke, poke, poke in our dining room. We got a big space in our dining room and she's taken over one side of it. But it's fun having my 6-year-old and my 4-year-old sit on both sides, just poking away at and my niece who lives with us as well. She's 9 and she's got her own diamond art. So it's
Love
fun. And it's just, it could be anything, but that's something they're in. What about you? I assume diamond art is not your hobby.
it. Well, they call me Diamond D, man, but that's one thing that I'm not too good at. I can tell you that. Let me not say that. I haven't even tried it, so I
Yeah.
can't say that I'm not too good at it. I'm probably am pretty good at it, actually. However, so I love to read, man. A lot of folks will be like, read? What do you mean? I very rarely watch sports, man. I very rarely watch TV. We'll watch a show or two, but I really am into, anything that allows my mind to continue to learn something, and usually that's either reading or listening to a podcast or audible book. I do those also. But aside from that, it's working out, man. Because again, working out is mostly mind muscle connection for me, and wanting to make sure I'm taking care of my health and well being. So, dude, those are my hobbies, man. I love to do those type of things, and obviously like the socializing, and I love to eat and stuff like that. But most of my clients, they come by way of typically someone that I have been introduced to, someone that was referred over to me, or someone that I met doing those activities. For example, I was at Starbucks not too long ago. I just had a book that I'd been reading sitting on the table, and I was, doing my Netris MLS search or whatever. A lady came right up to me. She said, "Oh, tell me about your book." Perfect opportunity for me to build rapport with this person. Ended up being able turning her into a client. Again, we had similar interests because the way that I guess that whole interaction was procured, I guess you could say. So yeah, man, reading and working out, dude, those are my top hobbies for sure. And hanging out with family and friends, yeah.
Yeah, I love that you read. You'd prefer to read than maybe watch sports and things like
Mhm.
that. I
Yeah.
hate picking on men about this. And yeah, I could talk about sports with men, but there's a certain shallowness of it. I like depth. I like meaty topics. And not everybody wants to strain their brain and think about stuff like that or really dive in. But I like the diving into deeper things to have conversations about. I love Audible. I'm not a really good reader. I can do
Mhm.
Audible all day. I
Yeah.
listen to it.
Mhm.
I absorb
Mhm.
it. I take notes, and then I use it and I repurpose it. So I might do a training
Yeah.
on. I'm doing one on Never Split the Difference, which is a really good negotiating book.
Yes.
Never
Yeah.
Split the Difference. Yeah, it's an
Yes.
FBI negotiator,
Hmm.
and it talks about how we don't compromise on certain things and how to
Yeah.
emotionally connect with the other party. I take stuff out of that and then I convert it into real estate agent language
Love it.
so that I
Yeah.
can make it applicable for other agents, and then I'll repurpose it in those ways. So that's been something I like to do. But I like grilling. That's really been I can just sit out and grill and chill.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. All right. Yeah, you not far up the road from me. Okay.
Yeah. Come on. Where you been?
uh,
I got a nice creek in my backyard. I got a grill. Let's go.
okay. All right. Pull
I want
up.
to ask you very important. This is really critical to talking with my audience and stuff. The sphere of influence. All agents will claim that that's kind of their space and where they make most of their money. But do you have any idea what you would think your percentage of closings are in sphere?
Yeah. I just looked at the numbers. I have a business coach through a company that really specializes only working by referral. Most people that's probably on this podcast may have heard of Brian Buffini. So
Oh, for sure.
I'm a
Yeah.
Buffini guy. I've been a Buffini guy all my career. And it is 87%. And I would tell you this, there is absolutely a marketing behind that. And what I mean is I'm not just waking up hoping that, man, I get a referral today. I'm actually making sure that I am doing the activities that could possibly and you mentioned this earlier on, is I'm planting the seeds that would at some point turn into a possible either direct referral, or in most cases, man, it's almost like the what do you call it, the law of reciprocity or something. The universe just you start just kind of attracting business. And so yeah, I am very systematic in that approach about doing business with my sphere, because these are people who they should like, know, and love me, right? And so if they do, if I've we've done a good job of helping and serving them, we all we ask is that they allow us to help and serve others that they feel like we will be a good fit for.
Sure. I'm being intentional.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really going to be come down to being intentional about staying in front of and connecting, and
Yep.
it doesn't have to always about real estate, but being top of mind
Mhm.
because you want to nurture those relationships.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, oh, if you were to start over today, what advice would you give yourself based on your experience?
That's a good question, man. Dude, this the real estate space right now is just so different, right? And ooh,
I mean, it could even be thinking back when you started, what are some mistakes that you made? What opportunities did you miss? Because now you've been doing this for a while, you're like, wow, had I done this before, I would be
yeah.
much farther along. It's just a good teaching or a good lesson for others.
Oh man, yeah. So early on, I remember just being really naive and just thinking, hey man, I'll just go out there and go sell some houses, not understanding that this is a business. I wasn't fully prepared to be a bookkeeper, an accountant, a therapist. There's so many different hats involved, and I was so fixated on just the just okay, I need to go sell some houses. If I was to do it all over again, first I would have uh, enough built up in savings where I could possibly have, okay, I'm not too stressed out here. I don't have to have another job, because for me, I just hopped right in, and there was a lot of stresses involved in that. But even when you take away that, I think just some of the practical stuff that I would tell myself is to do something every day that, like you mentioned, is intentional, that is going to allow income in the future. Because what I learned early on was that, man, if I didn't sell a house or if I didn't get a listing contract that day, then my day was whacked, man. I didn't do a good job that day. But now my whole mindset is the activities that I do every day. I Let me focus on this activity progress right now. This whole process, it will then allow me to have the opportunity to make income. I like I said early on, it was just about, well, let me just go sell a house today. Let me just go, find a client today. And I think a lot of my clients kind of felt that energy, man. They felt the desperation also.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love the humility about the way you describe that and explain that because Darian, there are people in our audience that's going to relate to you and relate to your story and understand, hey, I've gone through that. And I appreciate you being candid and transparent about it. How do we find, how do we find you?
Oh, I am, hey, and this is a testament to you, man. So I've been really cautious about not even being as visible. You're the first one I wanted to really sit down with and just set that stage on what else is to come. And what I mean by that is more of the podcast and more of sharing my experiences and knowledge, and for anyone who's open to receiving it. But most folks, man, look, if you don't find me at the gym, I'll tell you, you can find me. You can find me on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, and all that. But
And we'll post that on the YouTube channel. I'll post all your links.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, but aside from that, though, Shaune, I am an agent that, and I know this is a space where I can say that I'm an agent for agents, right? It's one of those things where I understand that collectively we can all get further together versus being against each other. And that kind of very much so was the mindset when I got into real estate almost 20 years ago. It was like, oh, we're all, oh, that's your brokerage, that's your brokerage, and who's better, and I really like where we are now as a community, because we can just say, hey, look, man, what are you doing? And share ideas and inspiration with each other. And so if anyone's looking for that, man, yeah, drop those socials, man. They can find me there.
Awesome, Darien. Thank you for doing this podcast with me. I appreciate you.
Man, you brought me out, brother. Yep. Hey, like I said, I've been kind of under the radar up until this point, but I'm glad to be here with you today.
Awesome. And there'll be more opportunities for you. Got to start somewhere, right? We got to get out there.
Yep.
Thank you for all of you that jumped on Real Estate Success DFW for my podcast. And for those that have not subscribed, please subscribe. I've got my link just below. And we will have more opportunities and episodes just like Darien's interview. Every week I'll roll out a new one. So I appreciate everybody. Thank you. That wraps up another episode of Real Estate Success DFW. I hope you're leaving with new insights that push your real estate career forward. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with fellow agents who's ready to succeed. And if you're interested in working together or have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me directly. My personal phone is 214-228-0383. Let's connect and make real estate success happen together. Until next time, keep pushing forward. I'm Shaune Corbett, and this is the Real Estate Success DFW. Have a high performance week.